On May 3, the world commemorates Press Freedom Day as a reminder to governments of the need to respect commitments to press freedom. It is also a day of reflection among media professionals about issues of press freedom and professional ethics. This year was no different. In Nigeria, representatives from human rights groups and media organizations used the occasion to call on the government to stop using repressive laws to target journalists. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, and the Nigerian Guild of Editors, NGE, in a statement, highlighted the challenges that negatively impact press freedom in Nigeria. Among issues raised was the deliberate proposing of bills aimed at silencing dissenting voices and muffling the press, a plethora of cases of threats, intimidation, and actual aggression employing law enforcement, regulating bodies, and state might. The statement went on to highlight incessant reports of censorship and surveillance, all aimed at identifying and silencing dissenting opinions rendered in mainstream media or other social media channels. On this first half of the program, we will attempt to discuss some of the pertinent issues raised in that statement as we reflect on press freedom in Nigeria. Our guest is our former president, Nigerian Guild of Editors, and CEO, Numero Hughes Nigeria Limited, Funke Egbemode. Funke, thank you very much for giving us your time. We appreciate it. Let's start with an understanding of what the current state of press freedom is in Nigeria. For 1 minute, please speak freely on your perceptions of press freedom as it currently is.
As it currently is in Nigeria, and generally across the globe, I would say that press freedom is a journey. It's not a destination. We are not where we want to be, but we're not where we were. There have been a lot of improvements. We've made a lot of movement forward. When we look at where we were in the days of jackboots, of the khaki boys, and not being able to express yourselves, not being able to say it as it is, self-censorship and all those days. But right now, we have done a little movement backwards, because it's not exactly 10 steps forward, 10 steps backward, but certain events in recent times have shown that we may not exactly be making the right progress, the right steady movement forward. But like I said, it's a journey. It's not a destination. It's something that we have to constantly continue to work on.
Considering we have had a democracy for so long, one would think that that journey is making some headway. Where have we gotten it right? And what are some of the challenges that journalists and media outlets still face today?
The job of a journalist is to look for news, is to investigate, is to uncover what someone wants to cover. And so there will always be that clash of the person who wants to do the covering and the person who wants to uncover. So because of democracy, we now have leaders who are a lot more open-minded about talking about what they're doing, about discussing what they even plan to do, about answering questions and expatiating on policies. Before, we just accepted whatever they said they wanted to do. We were not allowed the kind of freedom to express ourselves as professionals, as people, as people recognized, as a profession recognized in the Constitution, to complement democracy. We fought, we were active warriors in getting us this democracy that we all now enjoy. But we still now have people who do not see us as professionals. We have that problem of professionals also not doing as much as they should, which is an entirely it's another 6-minute program. Discuss why certain things are wrong with our profession, but largely, I'll say that journalists have given a good account of themselves. We fought for this democracy. We are protecting it. We are determined to protect it. Whether those we are protecting it from want to acknowledge the powers that we wield, the powers that we have, they will have to get used to the fact that we are here because we brought something that they are enjoying, that they are part of, that they are using to improve the country. And I will ensure that when they fail to do what they should do, we will be here to pull their hairs, to call them to order, to call them out when we need to. So far, those our leaders are doing what they think they should do, and we are here to ensure that they do exactly what needs to be done. That's where we are.
One of the issues raised in the statement that was jointly presented by SERAP and the Nigerian Guild of Editors was a seeming trend of arrests and detention. We had some cases during the elections. What worries you about the persistence of this trend? It's been on since before 1999, and we still have cases today. What should be the actions that are taken to address it?
The right attitude. We do not all have the same attitude towards this thing that we cherish. If you're holding a plate that is beautiful, a painting that is beautiful, you do not want it to drop on the floor and break. If we all see democracy as something that is precious, something that is actually destructible, something that can die, something that can crack, we all are supposed to join hands to protect it. Unfortunately, some people think that they love it more than the rest of us. Some people think that we are like interlopers, that we are meddlesome, that we look at things that we look at things that is, so those things are not supposed to be our business, because they do not see us, they do not see journalists as partners in progress, partners in protecting democracy. For as long as this attitude of it's our thing and not your thing, you are investigating what you have no business investigating, you are asking questions that you shouldn't ask, we will continue to have this problem. We will continue to want to uncover. We will continue to want to ask questions. Those who do not want to answer questions are the only people we have problems with. You will find ministers who readily provide answers. Even before you ask, they are explaining what they're doing. You will readily find governors who want to come out and explain what they're doing. But when you have somebody who thinks that is bigger than democracy, then we will have problems. But there is absolutely no reason for anybody to see the journalists as a threat. It is this threat angle, it is this threat dimension that is the problem. We all want what we have to survive. So we want to work together with those who have the same mindset that this democracy should last forever. The right attitude is what is lacking. The right attitude is what is bringing suppression. There's absolutely nothing to suppress. If what you have is the truth, tell me your truth. And then we as professionals must also bring some level of moderation into certain areas of our practice.
Let's talk laws, because I think one of the headliners for the presser that was given was the continuation of repressive law in stifling the freedoms of journalists. And one of them, just to digress a bit, when the Freedom of Information Act was enacted and passed into law, there was a lot of celebration. It was a win for journalists and freedom of information generally. But how do laws like Cybercrime Act and the Terrorism Prevention Act enable the targeting of journalists? Because one would say it's not specifically meant for journalists, but there have been instances where it is used to target journalists. I want you to speak on that.
We will continue to be in the firing line. Like I said in the beginning, we want to uncover what certain people want to cover. So there will always be that clash. And all the laws that are being enacted, the cybercrime one, and any other thing that is targeted at suppressing the media, will fail. We have been here long before those laws. We'll be here long after they review those laws. But let me state something. The threat, the fear that there are unprofessional elements in our space is also there. You also find people who think they are journalists because they have Android phones, that they have access to data and they can push things out there. They cause tension, they say things that they want to apologize about later, long after the damage is done. So there is also that threat, especially in the face of leaders, those in political office. I think largely the certain laws are in place, certain regulations are in place just to protect what we have.
All right.
There is no journalist no professional that is not worried about people calling themselves citizen journalists, trying to do what they are not trained to do.
All right.
And like I say every day, there are no citizen doctors, so there can be citizen journalists.
That's a debate that has been ongoing. I don't think the entire hour will be enough for us to talk about citizen journalists and journalism practice. But let's see if we can focus a little more on that, specifics of that statement. I want you to speak to how government can strengthen the independence of regulatory bodies like the MBC and the Nigerian Press Council to ensure that they are impartial in regulating and promoting self-regulation, in fact, within the media.
Thank you. This debate about regulation, it's a massive one, and it's all about knowing what the real boundaries should be and where those boundaries are. Let the government and its agencies know that we are trained to do a job. Let the agencies know that for as long as you are telling us what is professionally correct, according to the ethics and the codes of our profession, we will not rub one another the wrong way. No, we will be on the same page. We are not agencies of government. The newsrooms are absolutely independent. The print media houses buy their newsprint. The broadcast stations buy their diesel. There are no special concessions for them. They have a job to do. They have businesses to run. Let us also give that space to let them do what is professionally correct. It is only when we are doing something that is unprofessional that, well, they have a right to call us to order. They have a right to say, let's come to a round table and discuss. And please, for government and media to continue to work together, this partnership must be something that exists across tables, not in underground cells, not in shackles, not with threats, not with abductions. Those ones just push our backs against the wall, and before you know it, yesterday's partners have become enemies, they've become people exchanging words, and everything that we do in this age and time is for the whole world to see. It gives an impression of who the media is and who the government is. We need to be sure. We need to do everything the proper way. The agencies, the NBC, the press council must know that these are professionals doing professional things, and they are not staff or staffers of the government.
The statement that we've been trying to explain, trying to talk about press freedom, the state of press freedom in Nigeria, came up to urge the state governors and government to ensure that security agencies, the police and other authorities drop all charges against journalists, bloggers and other media practitioners. And they said cease further arbitrary closures of radio and television stations. What if these, that's a question in itself and a call in itself. But then I want to wonder, what if these legitimate claims that these persons have flouted? There are some unethical practitioners in the media. Shouldn't there be some form of accountability?
There must always be that form of accountability, because there's no freedom that does not come with some responsibility. Freedom means that you have to be responsible. That's why I said, whatever happens to these partners in progress in protecting democracy, can we do it across the table? Can we discuss? Can we agree on what is wrong and how to fix it? I think that even in very serious matters of crime, there are out-of-court settlements. There are out-of-court settlements all the time. There should be arbitration. There should be discussion. There should be, people should also be held accountable for what they did wrong as journalists. So if somebody has done something wrong, if there is a libel suit in court, it is already in court. But that does not mean we cannot discuss it and settle out of court and, smoothen the ruffled feathers and move on. But as professionals, we must know that we have to be responsible. We are responsible. We must do what needs to be done to protect democracy, but we must know the boundaries and the borders of the job. And let's not get political. We are journalists. We are not politicians. We should not get in the space of politics and, allow politicians to use us and to mess up our codes.
All right, since we're talking about accountability, I'd like you to speak on the concerns. Let me rephrase that. Are there concerns you have about current practices, unethical practices by journalists that needs to be addressed? And do you think that the Nigerian Guild of Editors and other regulatory bodies are doing enough to check these excesses among journalists?
I think, or I can speak for the Guild of Editors, for instance. We have committees, ethical committees. We have, our doors are open. We take complaints. We've had reports from groups about something that an editor has done or a publisher has done who is a member of the guild, and we have had to step in. That must continue. We must continue to hold ourselves accountable, censor what we do on our own. correct one another, ensure that we stay on the straight and narrow. You cannot be a sinner and you want to go after other sinners. If there is a log in your eye, you need to deal with it before you go after the speck in another person's eyes.
But Funke, I just wanted you to, aside the Nigerian Guild of Editors, I think maybe I didn't frame that question properly. I'm looking at, are there unethical practices that you as a journalist as well have observed in recent times among practitioners that worries you and that you think actions needs to be taken?
Definitely there are things that we're not doing enough of. There are things that there are ethics that we're allowing, ethical issues that we're allowing to get blocked. We are beginning occasionally to get too excited about a scoop, about a story, and forgetting ourselves. That is there. There are things that are happening in a few places that leave that they're not desirable, that are difficult to defend. Those ones are definitely there. There are unethical stuff, but they're not so extreme that our professional bodies can't deal with them. Because if, for instance, you get a scoop and you go to bed with them, you just go broadcast, or you go to press with your story without getting confirmation, just because it looks too good for you to not run it as a headline, as your lead. If you get into trouble the following day or hours after the story is pushed out, you would have done a lot of damage. When things like that happen, it worries the Nigerian Guild of Editors, it worries the elders of the profession, because that's not what they told us in journalism school. That's not what we learned in mass communication classes. So definitely there are unethical things going on, but they are fixable. And some of these things happen not because they are deliberate acts or done deliberately to hurt people. Sometimes it's the pressure of the job, it's excitement, it's okay, we'll do a follow-up tomorrow, and then we'll fall into that. Apart from that, a lot of the things that the society holds us responsible for are done by those who are not journalists. And that pains me differently, because if you are not a journalist, do not pretend to be one, and then you get all of us who are journalists into trouble for something that we did not do.
All right. I think we'll go on a short break, but while we're on that break, I need you to move over this question. I know I'm pulling you a lot and digging deep into your experience to get some of these answers. I want you to think about media ownership. Dissertations have been written about its impact on press freedom and the likes. That's on one part of the argument. On the other part, it is also media ownership, independent media, that's also pushing and bringing the real news out there for people. So where do we strike a balance? I'd like you to talk about that when we come back from this very short break. The viewer, do stay with us. We'll be right back. Good to know you're still with us. We're still looking at press freedom in Nigeria. A reminder that May 3 is World Press Freedom Day, and the idea is to draw attention to the impact of governance and the behavior of practitioners in the field that impacts press freedom. I still have my guest with us, Funke. She is Funke Egbemode. She is former president, Nigerian Guild of Editors. Thank you very much for staying with us still. Before we went on that break, I posed a question. Would you like to take that on, or you'd like me to recap?
Yeah, you were talking about media ownership, independence, and whether
Okay, so
the
I'm
media
asking
owners.
that on the one hand, their dissertation have been written on the impact of of media ownership on press freedom. But on the other hand, particularly in Nigeria, most of the media outlets are owned by private individuals, and they're doing good in terms of holding government accountable. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the conversation around media ownership and press freedom.
So far in Nigeria, I would say that there's been a lull in terms of investment in the industry. And I want to seize this opportunity to laud those who have stayed true to the business of running media houses. It's very capital intensive, it is thankless, the profits are little or nothing. It does not, in my estimation, the participation of the owners, I have not seen the way it has impacted negatively on press freedom. We just need more media owners, more people to invest in the business so that at least we can get the kind of competition, a bigger space, and job opportunities for very talented Nigerians who are just struggling out there after getting brilliant results out of universities, first-class graduates, first-class minds, brilliant writers, brilliant articulate, waiting to become big faces on our screens. I think media ownership in Nigeria is not affected in any form or shape press freedom in Nigeria.
Okay, I wanted you to land.
I've been around for 35 years, and there are plenty of examples. You can hold the media owners responsible for other things, but not for impacting negatively on press freedom.
All right, I wanted you to land before I pick up on something you said. You said more people need to invest in the media, and it takes me to a connected question I was also going to ask you. The proliferation of media outlets. On the one hand, some say, it's like you said, it's a good thing for the media. It employs a lot more people, and it pushes the press freedom. But then on the other hand, there are concerns about regulation, protecting the dignity of the profession, upholding ethics. So if you were to talk about this, what would be the issues that you would like to raise?
If you want to own a media house, you must do your homework. Don't just come into this space because you like the glamour and the power that it gives a media owner. There is glamour, there is power, there is clout that being a media owner, that the media owners enjoy. Everybody knows that they are molding opinion, they have access to information and all of that. But don't come here just for the glamour. Don't come into this space for the glamour. There's a lot of hard work, and there are young people's fortunes and future involved. That's very important that you consider that you bring money just because you want to chase clouds and you think it's easy business. No, it's when it ends in tears, you can take your investment out, but it would have ended abruptly some people's careers and their dreams. That is very important. But I do not see a proliferation of media houses. There are too few. There are too few media houses. I knew all the kinds of investment we were seeing.
But doesn't this have an impact on the quality of journalism that is available if it is open? Sometimes some people say it's like teaching. You know, if you don't get the role that you want, you just slide in there because there is an opening. Isn't that going to impact on the overall accountability role that we play for the government, when the quality of people in that space are not commensurate to the need that they are standing for?
That is why I said, if you are coming into this space, into the media space as an investor, please come with the right attitude, come with the right forms. It is not like opening a bakery. You do not make profit the following morning. You must be a long distance runner. It is not a dash. And when you have people with the right attitude in the game, the right attitude to media business, it helps everybody. It helps government, it helps democracy, it helps achieve dreams, it helps all of us to move to where we want to go. The right attitude and the right investment will help all of us. Right now, you have a few people who come into this space just because they want to make a point, and then they leave everybody high and dry.
Leaving everybody out is part of what I was going to say, and in investment, this is almost like a taboo subject. It's rarely talked about, and that's the delay in the payment of salary of journalists in various media houses, and of course the amount that is paid to journalists for the work that they do, because we don't clock in, we don't clock out. You could be at home, you are working, you could be in the office, you're working, so you don't, like the normal work, you clock in at 8 a.m. So there has been concerns about the remuneration of journalists. Is there something you know about this conversation that it's being done to address it? Because when you talk about the proliferation of media houses, everybody goes, anybody you can pay, they just get there.
If a media house is making money, is breaking even, is making profits, and is not paying salary, that is evil, that is illegal, it is immoral, it is unfair. But having been a reporter who rose to become an editor-in-chief who signed paychecks, I can tell you that a lot of media houses are struggling. They're struggling, they are not making profits. When you do not even break even, it's difficult to pay salaries. We have very, very...
Sorry to interject, Funke, but doesn't that impact your suggestion that we should have more media outlets? Because if you have more, the tendency of an increase in this negation we're talking about, that's the remuneration quality and the time that they work, will continue to drop. But when you have more, a few media houses that are doing quality work, the pay might be better, don't you think?
No. Let me give you an instance. I'll try not to mention specific names of titles.
Please don't, so they don't come here for us.
There was a time in the print industry that no publisher dared to owe salary. You know why? Because next year, or 6 months after is thinking of owing salaries, another newspaper house has been launched. That newspaper house will come to this one that is not paying and haul off all of its best hands. Where there is no competition, publishers and TV station owners will do exactly what they like. But if you know that somebody is going to take Felicity away next month and double our pay and continue to pay, you will treat that person right. That's why we need more investment. We need more investment so that we can continue to recruit quality people, not manage mediocres, not manage those who have come into our space because they couldn't find jobs elsewhere. I'm very passionate about this. We need to continue to sustain the careers of those who are devoted to this craft. And so we cannot have enough investors. Unfortunately, it is very capital intensive. That you have been able to run a bottling company doesn't mean you do well here. You can run a bank and not be able to run News Central.
It is not for the faint of heart, I guess. I was just saying it's not for the faint of heart. Yeah, you have to have a lot of guts in order to.
It is not. This is serious business, because it's about passion, it's about focus, about holding the whole world responsible for what they're doing, and we are never off duty. The Nigerian journalist is poorly paid. There is no argument about
what I take away from your submission on this subject is the need for competition, and you also believe that having more of these media houses increases that competition, and that is good for press freedom. Let's go back a little to the statement that started off this conversation in the first place, and one of the pertinent calls that was put out was on the National Assembly to immediately drop any social media and other bills that could restrict freedom of expression, media freedom, and the civic space, and undermine what is described as the effective enjoyment of these rights in Nigeria. My question is, what concrete actions are needed to push this, or is the intention to just make the call? I ask you because you're still a member of the Editors Guild of Nigeria.
Yes, once you're a member for life. You cannot put media practice in handcuffs, whether through the door or through the window. We are here as partners. It is in the interest of everybody to work with the media. Now, the present occupants of the National Assembly, we were here before they got elected. When they are no longer there, we will still be here. Can we just work together? We are the institution. We will continue to follow our ethics. There is an example that I cite. When Baba Jagedi's hand was amputated years ago, when Sharia first landed, there was every time to cover up that amputation. I think it was in Zamfara State. When that amputation happened, there was every attempt to say that, no, there was no amputation, no, it didn't happen. But a renowned newspaper in this country published the photograph of the amputation because the reporter covering that state had an open check to get that information, whatever it costs. We know that we are trained to ferret, to look for what we are looking for. They should not worry themselves about bringing brand new shackles and calling it whatever name they choose to call it, whatever law, whatever regulation they choose to call it. Do what is right, and we will report what is right. We do not create news. We do not create stories. It is only what happens that we report. Can we just do what is right so we can report what is right instead of going around in circles and trying to find ways to bog us down?
I'm told we have just about 3 minutes left, so I'm forced to interject again to ask you, this is an important one. You're an elder in the industry, so I want you to talk about support systems that are available for journalists facing harassment or arrests.
If you are being harassed, please do not be quiet about it. Let your immediate supervisors know. If you have access to your publisher, let your publisher, let the owner of the station know what you're going through. Do not go around unprotected. Do not be in dark places. Do not leave yourself open for attack. Do not do anything illegal. Just make sure you do your job the way it should be done and protect yourself in every way possible. How we protect ourselves, how we stay safe as things that we can also talk about when we're not on screen.
All right. I guess that would be a good place for us to leave it for now. But are there concluding thoughts you would like to share as we wrap up?
Let us work together. The political office holders, our leaders in politics, people in business, please, we are not the enemy here. We do not create stories. Journalists do not create stories. We only report them. If they don't happen, we don't report them. And there are only journalists who are trained to do journalism that are journalists. Please, if you must get your news and you want authentic news, please go to verified platforms that are media platforms, that are professional platforms. Because if you go to a nightclub, you do not expect that they'll be preaching sermons. If you go to the church, you will only hear sermons. Let's look for news on news platforms.
Thank you so much for your time and the insights you've provided. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right, it will be remiss of me and not to share some reflective reminders as we wrap up. Nearly 20 journalists and media outlets were attacked during the general elections in February and March 2023. I go too far. My colleagues here at News Central were attacked during the recent off-cycle polls. Why is it that crimes committed against journalists continue to go unpunished, even when the perpetrators are known or even apprehended? On the one hand, the Constitution protects freedom of expression, yet there are still many laws, as highlighted on today's program, with provisions that make it possible to obstruct the work of journalists. Let me also mention another major issue also talked about in this program, one that remains almost a taboo to talk about for fear of victimization. Many media outlets are guilty of significant salary delays, salaries that in most cases are so low it simply keeps journalists on a loop of infinite survival mode, thus making them even more vulnerable to corruption and unethical conducts. Suffice it to say that government and society at large must resuscitate this crucial pillar for the development of democracy. It is imperative that journalists are allowed and encouraged to work without fear or harassment. It is the only way the press can effectively perform a watchdog role as it should. As always, my heartfelt thanks for your kind attention, but don't go. We will be back with more programming here at News Central. Thanks for staying with us.